Oh, yeah, I'm so 100% not ready to go live right now, but we're doing it. All right, today, let's get this straightened out a little bit. Oh, first I should mention, today I'm on a pretty low energy level because I decided today I'm just gonna mostly chill and just kind of reset everything. I like to do that, a couple times a year. It's like the hardest days to do because like days when I'm just like pushing hard and doing hard stuff, I feel good, It's like you're kind of high when you do all that kind of stuff. But then days when I'm like, all right, I just need to just chill out and settle down. It's like I don't know, it's weird. Anyway, today I'm going to talk about edumacation. So recently, I acquired a new student, and I homeschool my kids, and their mom also homeschools them over there. But one day a week, this kid who lives close by comes and does some education, does some homeschool with us, and it's before I got him, he was in public school, and I'm really seeing it's reminding me of a lot of the problems in public school. So let me give you a few examples, and then I'm probably going to go off in some huge tangent here. But at the end of the first day, when he left, he said, "Hey, thanks for hanging out and chit-chatting," in kind of we didn't really do school today kind of way. And we did spend like 2 hours just hanging around talking, which I thought was very educational, but it wasn't within, like a framework of like, a schedule and with like some sort of assignments. It was just like the conversation started with me saying, "What do you want to do with your life, man? Like, what do you want to do? What do you care about?" And he's just like, I don't know. And then I pushed it, and then we went on for like 2 hours, and we went into like world history and current events and all kinds of stuff. But because it wasn't like in a formal educational kind of setting that he was used to, I don't think he realized that he learned anything. Which personally I think is the best way to learn something. And then the other day when he was here, we did some formal math to start with, and then some other stuff. And then I was like, all right, gym class. Do you want to go running or do some calisthenics kind of stuff, or you want to go dig? And he was like, I don't know, I'll do whatever. So anyway, we ended up deciding we're gonna go dig. And I was like, all right, digging's good because that's a good skill to learn anyway. And he's like, what's there to learn? It's just digging. I know how to dig. And I have to admit that when he said that, I stood there going, am I fooling myself thinking this kid's going to learn anything from digging? I don't know. So I was just like, all right, well, let's just go get some exercise, doing some digging, whatever. But I'm thinking in the back of my head, I feel like there's some lessons here, but I haven't really thought about it, I just kind of presumed there'd be some lessons here. So I was like, all right, let's just see how it goes. So what we're doing is like moving some dirt from over there to over there, and it's like 100 meters between or something. So we're putting dirt in a wheelbarrow and then wheeling it over there and then dumping it, So we go up, and I'm explaining this to him. We'll take the dirt over there while I'm breaking up some dirt. And then I'm like, all right, put as much dirt from here into this wheelbarrow as you think you can reasonably take to over there. And I was like, I'll go do something else. So I go, start cutting some wood on the lumber mill and doing other stuff. And, I'm kind of paying attention. And then when he gets to the point where he's like, okay, I think that's enough, he goes to pick up the wheelbarrow and he's like, it's the handles aren't slippery. I don't have good grip. And I'm like, just spit on your hands, and it'll give you better grip. It'll make them stickier. So he goes and spits like half a gallon of goo all over his hands, and he's like, wah. So I'm like, dude, just a little bit, there's an important lesson. Now I'm thinking like, ooh, this kid just learned something. That's an important lesson. Anytime you're doing manual labor, a little bit of moisture on your hands will give you a lot better grip, but not a lot. Anyway, so we got that figured out. So he gets the wheelbarrow and he's walking down, and I'm like, I'll go with you for the first one. Usually I do 10 of these in a row, and it takes an hour or two depending on, various factors or whatever. But I'll go with you to make sure you know where to put it and everything. So as we're walking down the hill, he's got the wheelbarrow. He's like, "Oh man, this is way heavier than I thought. Man, clay is heavy. Whew, another lesson." And I'm just thinking, man, this guy's learning so much stuff, but I don't think he's even realizing how much he's learning. Anyway, he wheels the wheelbarrow over to where it's going to get dumped, and he starts lifting it up, but he's got the wheel over past where it's horizontal, and the front wheel's kind of going down the hill. So the wheelbarrow is trying to run away from him while he's trying to lift it up. And I'm like, dude, pull it back. You got to get back on the flat ground. So he pulls it back, gets the wheel back on the flat ground. Then he can lift it up and dump the wheelbarrow. Oh, there's another lesson. Physics, gravity, all this stuff, right? So he takes the wheelbarrow back up, and then my daughter fills it up, and she goes and does one, and then I go and do one. And I was thinking I wasn't going to go do one. I was thinking they would just go 1, 1, 1, 1. But he's on the ground, just like, and there he is learning about endurance. And so I go do one, and I'm like, all right, your turn. So he fills the wheelbarrow much less this time because he learned a lesson on the first one. And then he only spits a little bit on his hands when he goes to pick up the wheelbarrow. And then he's wheeling it down, and he doesn't roll over the edge of the hill when he's dumping the wheelbarrow. But on his way back up the hill, he's just kind of like, dragging the empty wheelbarrow and just not really paying attention. And he drops one of the handles. One of the handles slips out of his hand and lands on his foot. And he's like, ah! And he's like limping around for the rest of the day. That was the end of the digging, by the way. But there he learned another lesson about paying attention. So it's like, I feel like those lessons are so much more valuable than anything you wouldn't get that stuff in a book. And he was under the impression that he knows how to dig, he knows how to do this stuff. He is a teenager, and teenagers are kind of known for thinking they know everything. But the fact is, he went to school before, everything was academic and everything, and he thinks, well, I know how to do stuff. But then you get someone into a real life situation, and that's when you realize how flawed our education system is. It is horrible. It doesn't teach us to do anything. It, in fact, teaches us to be useless while thinking we know how to do stuff, which is the absolute worst thing that you could teach someone. You know how to do things. You know how to do it, even though you've not learned anything. So, I think I'm going to go more in the direction of this, unscripted, like out of the box. What's it called? Like unscheduled, unstructured schooling system, because I think he's got enough structure, but I think he needs a lot of not structure. And that's what I do with my kids too. I just get them involved in whatever is going on, and then they get involved. And then just real life situations give you so many lessons that you wouldn't even think to write down in a book. Like if I were to write down all the lessons that I think that kid at least got a taste of in like half an hour of digging, like it was just constant. I gave a few examples of things that happened, but it was just constant the whole time. It's like, I don't know what's going on here. Oh, okay. Wait, why is this like this? Oh, okay. Oh, I don't get it. Oh, okay. Like so many things. And like to try to write that all down in some book that you could then teach someone, first, half the stuff wouldn't make any sense. Spit on your hands just a little bit, and you'll get better grip. Really? Does that even mean anything? No, but then you do it once, and it's like, oh, that really does make a big difference. A little bit of moisture on your hands, way better grip. Just all kinds of things like that you learn from real life things that you do not learn in a modern academic setting. And I think that's one of the things that's just causing the downfall of our civilization. Largely largely, I think our civilization is falling apart because of, the flaw of democracy, which is basically when people are not well informed or involved enough to vote for the right person, then the whole thing goes down the tubes. But yes, people are just so uninformed. We're learning all this academic stuff, learning nothing about real life, about how to really do things. And at the same time, thinking that because we've done all these lessons and we scored whatever on the test and it said you got an A, that means you know how to do stuff. So all it's teaching people is that they know how to do stuff that they don't actually know how to do. It's a really weird system, and I haven't had direct contact with that in a while. I forgot how bad the education system is, and it seems to just be getting worse and worse as time goes on. So I guess I don't know what's the moral of the story here. Teach your kids with real life things. Get them to do real life stuff, man. They're gonna learn so much more. If you have kids. If you don't have kids, I don't know. Go have a cookie. All right, what else is going on? Okay, so I haven't mentioned this the last couple weeks, but I'm still planning to have Adventure Builder meeting this the week of May 3rd. I forgot what day of the week it was now. It was a weekday though, but like the weekend before, then that week, and the weekend after. So it's like it's a 9-day window that people can come anytime during that, and we can hang out at the Adventure Builder campground that I'm working on. Hopefully I'll have at least one good cabin in working order by then. I got a lot of work to do, but it's only February. Wait, February, March, April. Okay, yeah, it's not that long, but I'm working on it. Of course, if I don't get that much done there, I do have other places people can stay. But anyway, Adventure Builder meeting the week of May 3rd. Just let me know when you want to come. Preferably, I mean, you could just show up, but it's nice if you let me know if you're coming and when you want to come during there. And plus, I can help give you directions and stuff. Anyway, I have no idea how many people are going to show up to this. I used to do these in Vermont at my place there, but that was a lot easier to get to. A lot of people could get there pretty easily because it was near a pretty high population area, within a few hours drive. But people would come from overseas to those meetings sometimes. Like every year, there were a few people who traveled halfway across the world to come to this thing. They'd also go and do some other touristy stuff, but they were there. Anyway, so that's the week of May 3rd in Panama. So let me know if you want to come, and I can help you with directions and whatever. Other than that, this probably looks a little bit different than last week. Look, there's some more boards up on my second floor. Although these are all just up here to dry. They're obviously not cut. There's spaces between them and everything. So I've been getting all the floorboards from out in the jungle and just putting them on the floor all over the place. I've also got a railing right there. I just put up a video about it actually, so some of you have probably seen it. Anyway, things are going well with the second floor. Although now I'm kind of at the point where I'm going to have to wait a while. I can finish the railings all the way around. But I have all the joists done. And I could do all the joists while the wood is a little bit wet. Because if they shrink, they'll shrink evenly. It's fine. But the floorboards, I want the wood to be fairly dry before I put the floorboards down. Because when they shrink, they'll leave gaps between them. And I don't want to have big gaps, so I want the wood to dry a fair amount. I don't know. We'll see how patient I am. I have some other stuff to do. I can put the stairs in. I figured out where I want to put the stairs, and do the rest of the railings. I can work on the camp a bunch. I'll probably spend like a month working on the camp once I get all the boards out of there, and that'll give the wood a chance to dry. And will give me a chance to, get the campground going. Don't quote me on any of this. I'm not totally sure what I'm going to do, but that sounds like a pretty good idea. What else is happening? I love my 3D printer. And yeah, I'm just doing stuff, you know. Let's see what you guys are doing. Love the new video, B says. Well, thanks, man. Scared me watching them run up there. Yeah, so in my latest video, I do show my kids running laps. Not my 3-year-old. The 3-year-old, I kept her on a pretty short leash. But like, you know, my older kids were running laps around the second floor. And obviously there are gaps, you know, where a kid could fall through and stuff. So, you know, I tell them, you guys be careful and, you know, all this. But I think back to when I was a kid, and I did way more dangerous stuff than that. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning of this video in my opening monologue, talking about, you know, education, real life situations. Like, I can tell kids, be careful of danger all I want, but I also got to let them go a little bit, you know? Like, I don't want them to get to the point where they actually fall in any of the stuff here or anything, but I want them to get used to being in a situation where there is danger that they have to pay attention to. So obviously they want to run laps around, and I'm like, okay, you guys be careful. And if at any point, it actually happened yesterday, they started getting a little bit too rowdy, you know, kind of fighting with each other. And I was like, no fighting in a dangerous place. You guys got to come down now. So, but, you know, I do want to let them, play and be a little bit dangerous, a little bit risky. Just, you know, I have to pay attention and mitigate that risk. So they learn the lessons gained from risky behavior, but don't go past that to the point where someone's actually getting hurt, you know? Yeah, a lot of it is just thinking about when I was a kid, and just watching them being like, all right, they look like they can handle this. You know, they're slowing down at the part where there's just one board, and they're only going fast on the part where there's lots of boards. And yeah, anyway, that is one of those things where, like, as a parent, you have to figure out you have to decide where that line is for yourself. You know, what's too much danger? You know, the thing is, they got to learn, you know, but you don't want them to get hurt. So anyway, how is everyone, Mr. Landfill? What's going on? Is there going to be an elevator? I was actually thinking about putting in an elevator. Okay, so to get up to the second floor and to the third floor, I want stairs, a rope. The rope's already over there. I want like some kind of like ladders, like you might find in a submarine or something, like straight up and down ladders. I want a slide. I would like to have a slide coming all the way from the third floor down to the first floor. But I don't have any of the stuff for that, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to make that happen. Like, I want a bunch of different ways. And yeah, one of the ways I was thinking about is an elevator to go up and down, but not an electric one, like one where you get in it and you got to turn a crank, or yeah, probably turn a crank, which will be like severely geared down so that one person can turn the crank and actually get themselves, or maybe themselves and someone else, to go all the way up. And I'll also have to have some kind of limit to how fast the crank can go backwards. Because, you know, if someone lets go of it, I don't want the whole thing to just fall down while this crank is spinning so fast you can't grab it or whatever, you know. But yeah, I'm thinking an elevator. I'll have to figure out how to do it safely and all that. But I would like to do an elevator. Although, of course, it's not a high priority. That's one of those things I'll do for fun. You know, the rope is also partly for fun, but that's super easy to do. So I just put that up real quick. No splinters from that wood. I love the color of it. Yeah, this wood is not, it doesn't really splinter very easily. You know, like, I don't know, how do you explain that? Like, it doesn't have a lot of splits in it. Like, the wood stays together, you know, so it doesn't end up with pieces sticking out that you can get splinters. I haven't gotten any splinters. Maybe I shouldn't say that because I might get one tomorrow. But yeah, so far I haven't gotten any splinters from carrying all the wood around, and I've carried a lot of wood around. And in case anyone's wondering, it's mahogany. Around here, they call it Mayo Rojo. But yeah, it's mahogany. I love the color of it. Yeah, the color is really nice. When you first cut it, it's pretty white. It looks kind of like pine, but then soon after you cut it, it starts turning this reddish color. It's really nice. It's kind of soft wood too, not as soft as pine or anything like that. And it does get more dense once the wood cures. So it's really easy to screw together at the beginning. Oh, hi. Hi, Slee is sixes. I was hauling wood out of the forest this evening. Ooh, that's a fun thing to do, isn't it? Luckily, I have a forest just up the road and been walking firewood back on my shoulders. Some pretty chunky pieces that I find on the ground. That's some good exercise right there, man. Nice work. Very good. Edumacation is important for modern life. Yeah. Edumacation is hard to find these days. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's not hard to find. It's just like there's edumacation all over the place if you do things. But if you think you're only going to learn in a classroom or from a book, you're severely limiting what you can learn. Because book, classroom, so limiting. You gotta get your hands dirty. You gotta do stuff. You gotta run around on some boards and risk death just a little bit to get real insight into certain things, you know. Learned about gravity. Yeah. Hey there, Jaimie. Hey, it's Frederick Brincat. What's going on? I haven't seen you in a while, man. Made it to another live. Just the video of your upper floor coming together. Love the idea of the bridge between the two sides. Know it may be cooler than a bridge, an arched bridge. Well, I did think about making a bridge that either goes like that or like that. However, you know, there's a first floor and a third floor. So if I make an arched bridge, then in the middle of the arch, you might be hitting your head on the third floor. So I think in this particular case, it's just got to be straight across. But yeah, otherwise an arch bridge would be kind of cool. Let's see. Wish I could come to Panama, Frederick, and join your adventure builder, but I'm currently fighting my own demons, also financially. But hey, sharing time with you is currently on my bucket list. Hey man, whatever you can do, share time right here. That's great. And I don't know what demons you're fighting, but man, I hope I don't know. It's like whatever you're fighting, just keep fighting. Just keep fighting and keep fighting right till you're dead. That's the way I think about it. You know, things happen. Everyone's got problems to deal with. That's one of the things I learned pretty early in life. Everyone's got problems. Everyone's got demons. Everyone's got stuff they have to deal with. And whatever you're dealing with, you know, good luck with it. And I hope you can get a handle on it, whatever's going on. I like the masks you have there inside. Yeah, those are great, aren't they? Before I put those masks up, I did want to put two pillars. There, let's turn this a little bit. We can show the masks. So this is one of them. I think the other one's blocked by that pillar right there. Yeah. So this is one of the masts, and the third floor rests on top of this. It's not this. This is a bunch of stainless steel pipes, but that's a ship mast. And before I got my hands on those, I knew I wanted to put two pillars there, and I was like, man, what am I going to do for those pillars? I can't just make a straight concrete pillar that tall. That's kind of risky, you know. I mean, if I make it thick enough, it would be fine. But then, yeah, I got this old ship pretty cheap enough that I got more than the value I paid for it just by taking the masts and all the stainless steel cables and like all kinds of hardware off it. And then, yeah, those masts are great. I'm pretty sure they'll easily hold up the floor, even with lots of jumping and stuff. Okay, I like the mast you have there inside. Are you going to use the halyards to winch stuff up and down? A big chandelier could be nice. I do not think there's going to be a chandelier, but it's possible. I'm probably not going to use anything on the masts to hoist things up there because the masts only go up to the third floor. And if I'm going to hoist things up, I'll probably connect to the ceiling of the third floor so I can actually get things up to the third floor. Let's see. A big chandelier could be nice. Man, my kids would get pretty into building a chandelier. Welcome, Oscar Digital. Who's Oscar Digital? And yes, of course, kids are like ships. We build ships with the intention of them facing a storm, not to keep them sheltered in port. That's true. Yeah, good analogy, man. Yeah, you don't raise kids. I mean, I guess some people do raise kids and then try to get their kids to just like live in a box, go get an apartment or a house and then like get an office job. And then you just go from the box of your house to the box of your car, to the box of your office and back, maybe go to the box of the store and back, but spend all your time in boxes. But that's no way to live. That's not real life. Real life, you gotta start interacting with the real world, and everything is risky. Various degrees of risk, of course, and you always have to mitigate whatever risks you're taking. But everything is risky. Even living in a box is risky, because if you don't get enough exercise, you die of a heart attack when you're like 42 or whatever. What are you writing here? Immobile and Gringrang equals property tours. What? Mr. Landfill, you're confusing me. Are you speaking other languages? Pixelot, what's up, man? Hans, Jaimie. Second floor is going to be sick AF. Sick Air Force. Yes, I know that's not what it means. I learned ground level is first floor in US, Canada. Oh, yeah. So I learned this when I went to England. In various parts of the world, they number the floors differently. In the United States and Canada, the ground floor is the first floor. And then the second floor is the second one. So they just, the ground one is the first one. But in a lot of places, the ground floor is like the neutral floor. It's like the zero floor, like if you had a number scale. So in the United States and Canada, there is no zero floor. There's just a +1, and then a +2, and then a +3. And if you go down, you just go right from 1 to -1, which mathematically is a little weird. But I don't know, it's fine. But yeah, in other parts of the world, the ground floor is like the 0, and then you got the +1, and then the -1 is the first basement floor. So I'm using the numbers that I grew up with, which is the ground floor is the first floor, and then the second floor is above my head there. But adjust in your head accordingly. Let's see. Hello, guys. Problem is kids don't listen no more. Oh, kids don't listen no more, and parents aren't allowed to be strict. Well, maybe that's one of the reasons. That's definitely one of the reasons I left North America. Because if I showed that video that I just put up of my kids running around a partially finished floor in the United States, I would get various threats that someone's going to call, what's it called? I don't even remember what it's called now. I'm so glad I don't even know what it's called now because no one sends it to me anymore. Child safety people, take your kids away from you people, whatever those guys are. But yeah, when I was in the United States, I used to get threats of that all the time. Child services. I'm going to call child services and they're going to take your kids away. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to raise my kids the best way I can. And if I can't do that, I'm going to go to another country, So yeah, now I'm doing it here and, go ahead, call child services, whatever. Yeah, you get, okay. And the problem is kids don't listen. You have to, this is a lot to unpack right here. Okay. The problem is kids don't listen no more, should be any more, and parents aren't allowed to be strict. Okay. If your kids aren't listening, it's probably because you're not raising them. Now, I don't know what your situation is, but for a lot of people, like the majority of people that I know of in the United States and Canada and Europe, Australia, a lot of other countries, people don't actually raise their kids anymore. They just send them to school, send them to daycare first, like when they're way too young. Oh, and it's terrible. Kids, I mean, parents will send like little kids to daycare, and the kid is like, no, don't leave me. And the parent's like, oh, why does this bother me? It should bother you. You should not be sending your 2 or 3-year-old away to be raised by someone else. When they're screaming, come back, that should bother you enough that you go and get your kid and take them the fuck home and raise them yourself. Oh, God. So people don't raise their kids anymore. And it starts at a very young age. And, you send them to daycare, then you send them to kindergarten, then you send them to school. And then you get these teenagers who you don't know because you didn't raise them. And then, of course, they're not going to listen to you because who the hell are you? You weren't there. You didn't raise them. So why would your kids listen to you if you haven't been there for them their whole life? You've been there at dinner time and you saw them at breakfast for a moment before you sent them off. Ooh, no, actually raise your kids yourself and they will listen to you unless you do a terrible job. And the second part about, parents aren't allowed to be strict. You just got to decide what's more important. Doing what the society around you tells you you have to do with your children, or raising them the way you really think they need to be raised. Like think about what's going to be better for your kids. Now, obviously, you have to try not to get thrown in jail because that's not going to be better for your kids. But you got to figure out, and this might have a lot to do with raising your kids yourself, not sending them to school. Maybe you'll have to have them not interact with certain families because those families, the kids don't listen to their parents, and your kid's just going to see that and do the same thing. Maybe you have to be selective about who you associate with and who your kids associate with. So you have to interact with other families who also are, I guess I'm just going to use the word strict with their children. And the thing is, a lot of people don't understand what strict means. Like when you're strict with your children, it doesn't mean you have to scream at them and beat them and all this stuff. It just means you set the boundary and that's it. It is a strict boundary. You don't go over that. And if the kid goes over that, you have to pull them back, whatever you have to do. Or if your kid says, I want to get out the Lego, and you say, all right, you can get out the Lego, but only if you're going to clean it up. And the kid says, okay, and you make a deal. Okay, so you're going to clean this up before dinner. And the kid says, okay, yes, I will clean it up before dinner. Once they make that promise, it's your job to hold them to it and not let them have dinner until they clean it up, and not send them to bed without dinner, because that's doing a bad job. The worst job would just be giving them dinner and saying like, well, whatever, just, I want you to eat, so just eat. No, that's the worst. The second worst would be sending them to bed with no dinner. But what your real job is making sure they actually do it. Whatever you got to do, whatever, like maybe you have to pretend to be Captain Stupendous on the radio. We've got a situation over here with the Lego, and Captain Stupendous is gonna need some assistance. I mean, I have various characters that I sometimes do in my house. My house is actually a space station, and there's this guy who runs the space station, and there's like maintenance things that have to happen in the space station, and it just makes it more fun. And some people would see that and say, oh, but if you just make it fun for them, then it doesn't count. No. I want them to enjoy following through with what they've said they do. So if they need to clean up the Lego, and Joey, the captain, or the captain of the space station, comes on the announcements and says, we've got a severe infestation of some kind of aliens that are going to eat Lego and then throw up acid and destroy the station or something. And that gets them interested in doing it and following through with what they said, fine. Because the thing is, I just need to make sure they do it so they get in the habit of doing it. Same thing with like brushing their teeth or cleaning up after dinner or whatever, having a shower. Oh, I don't feel like it. No, you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do your stuff. You got to make sure they do the stuff they need to do and make sure it becomes a habit. Don't let them get used to not doing the things that they know they need to do. Because your job as a parent is making sure that it becomes a habit for them to do the things they need to do. Because that's what's going to make a positive difference in their life, you know? Kids don't listen no more. You gotta fix your grammar, man. Okay, Jaimie, I sent you an idea for your stairs in your Adventure Builder email. I hope you like it. I have not checked my email in a while. One of the things, so I said earlier, you know, in my talkings here, that I was kind of resetting today. So, you know, I didn't do any morning exercise. I didn't do anything strenuous. I'm just kind of like letting I'm just trying to calm down my body chemistry and just chill, you know. And part of that is also just not going online, doing anything like that. Yeah, it's like sort of getting no input and not doing anything that is going to alter my state, and just like, what if I just chill and don't do anything? What happens then? And you know, it's like facing yourself, kind of, you know. It's like put yourself in an empty room with no music and no entertainment and blank walls, and just be there for like a day, and you learn a lot about yourself, and you can, like, you know, it's very meditative and get you. Anyway, I haven't checked my email. I can do that later though. In Germany, where I'm from, it's Grieu. Ground level, oh, then 1-2, yeah. Is it that kids don't listen no more, or is it that adults don't know how to communicate with kids anymore? Well, I think a lot of it is what I was just saying, is that not even that adults don't know how to, it's just they're not. Like, adults are not communicating with their kids. And like, you know, when you become a parent, you don't know how to do all kinds of stuff. And that's the scariest thing about being a parent. I mean, other than, you know, oh my God, my kid's gonna just die in their sleep, and then, you know, checking 150 times during their sleep. Still breathing? Oh, okay, still breathing. You know, but like, one of the scariest things is you don't know what to do. You don't know how to do anything. But and it's really easy to get stuck in a habit of not doing it. Like when you don't know how to do something as a parent, it's easy to just try to get someone else to do it. But if you do that, you don't learn how to be a parent. So what you got to do is you got to start communicating with your kids when they're very young, when they don't even know how to communicate, you know? They're just like blah, 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 just slobbering everywhere and pooping and farting and just peeing all over the place. You got to start figuring out how to communicate with them then. And by the time they get old enough that it really, really matters, then you have a rapport, you can communicate with them. And the thing is, maybe you're in a situation where you didn't know you should have been doing that the whole time, and now you've got like a teenager who won't communicate or listen to you or respect you at all, and now you finally realize, oh, I should have been communicating the whole time. It's real easy to say, I blew it, I screwed it up, I didn't do it. No, start now. At any point, you can start trying to do a better job. And the longer it's been that you haven't done it, probably the harder it's going to be. But that doesn't mean you quit. It doesn't mean you don't do it. Like if you have a 16-year-old who you've never learned to communicate with, it's going to be really hard to communicate with them. But start doing it. Just start embarrassing yourself and annoying them and doing whatever you have to do to start wiggling your way into their life and communicating with them. Just try not to be horrible about it. It's a tough thing, because a lot of people grew up just not communicating with their kids and not learning how to and stuff. But yeah, it's like it's not like in the past everyone just knew how to do this stuff. It's just in the past there weren't so many choices saying you don't have to do it. You know, there weren't so many easy ways to just say, well, just send your kid to daycare. You know, you're some pioneer on the frontier, and it's like, you, 4 kids, and your wife in some house, and the nearest neighbor's like a mile away, is like, you can't just like send your kids, just go away, kids. Just no, you have to deal with the situation. So that's why in the past people had better families, because they had to. This whole modern convenience, comfortable lifestyle thing is horrible for people. It's really bad for people and families and everything. It's really garbage. What was I talking about? I don't know. If I became a parent, I think I would be strict. Well, you gotta be strict, man. Yeah, like kids don't know what they're supposed to do when they're born. They have no idea what they're supposed to do. You're the one who's got to teach them everything. And to be able to teach them at their level, you have to be strict. For example, like my 2 middle kids who are running laps around the second floor. If I didn't let them do that, they wouldn't be challenged, right? If I just said, no, just don't even do that at all. Let's just do something else, find something super safe to do and easy, where I don't have to draw a line anywhere. But I let them run around the second floor, and then I keep an eye on them. And when they get up to a certain line that I've defined as too dangerous, I say, that's it. This is where we're cutting it off. But if you aren't strict and you want to have like a really kind of like vague line about everything, you have to make sure your kids are always doing something safe. Because if you're not going to be strict and stop them right before they get hurt, then you can't let them go up to the point where they're almost getting hurt, where they're being challenged, where they're learning something, What's going on here? Property Tours was an Oscar Digital's channel. At least I think that's that what it translated to. I have no idea what you're talking about. What's Property Tours was an Oscar Digital's channel? I don't know what you're talking about right now, Mr. Landfill. Can the structure hold all of the weight of the wood for the floors? You've done some math or eyeballing. No, the structure cannot hold all the weight. It's all going to collapse. No, I did some math. It wasn't that hard. I know the rough pounds per square inch, which is going to drive all the Europeans, and the English people are crazy. But the bag of cement and concrete says how many pounds per square inch it can handle. And I make sure I'm way, way, way well within that. So yeah, I think I have 10 times more strength than I need. There is one thing I'm still doing to support the second floor. So I think I mentioned this last week. So right here is a pillar. This goes all the way up to the third floor, or the second floor if you're in Germany. This goes all the way up to the third floor. And right here is this beam thing that goes across, right? And it's connected there, and it's connected there, and this beam supports part of the floor there, and it supports part of the floor way over there. And on this particular wall, on this particular beam, it's got a wall under it, right? So because it's got a wall under it, I'm not worried at all about this collapsing. It's got all the strength of this wall directly under where, the weight-bearing part. However, on a lot of these, there's no wall here. So this is empty. So that means, where the weight's being supported there, it's relying on the shear strength of the concrete. So anywhere there's not a wall, I'm putting just an extra little pillar there, just to have support directly under where the weight is. And the same thing at this end. I'm more concerned about this end, because on this end, the beams actually hold all the weight. But on this end, the beams only hold one joist, and the other joist that the other 3 joists rest on is on a part it's got concrete all directly below it, and more than enough to support the weight. So yeah, I did some math, and it should be all fine. I mean, I just did a quick estimation math to make sure I've got like at least 10 times more strength than I need. One of the things that comforts me is that concrete is used to make like 50-story tall buildings. So my 4-story tall building should be fine. Let's see. I just saw the video of the second floor railing, but it is just the first floor as it is above the ground floor. Yeah, well, depending on what country you're in, it could be the first floor or the second floor. So I don't know. Oh no, he said the F word live. When you're this honest. Oh, I love it when you're this honest. Yeah, I try not to swear, but man, this whole thing about parents not raising their children anymore. Oh God, it's so disastrous. It's so disastrous to our culture, to our whole civilization. You know, the fact that parents aren't raising children anymore, and just families in general. You know, just families are totally broken, and relationships are broken, and like men and women. It all comes down to this thing where men and women are supposed to hate each other. You know, men are from Mars and women are from Venus, and we're not supposed to get along with each other. We're supposed to be at each other's throats and hating each other. And that's the story today. It doesn't make any sense. It's totally destructive. And it's destroying the fabric of our civilization right out from under our feet. And people are just going along with it, you know? And it's so frustrating to watch it happen. It's sort of like, when you see a little kid standing on top of a ladder that's clearly not safe, and it's sitting in mud, and only 3 of the legs are touching the ground, and the kid is starting to reach over, and you're just like, dude, you're gonna fall. And you have to rush over to them to grab the ladder and get them to come down. Well, I feel like our civilization is like this kid on top of a ladder that's about to fall over, but you can't fix it because you can't do anything. I mean, I can sit here, like this is the best I can do. I can sit here and say this and try to give the message to as many people as possible, but like no one's going to hear it. I mean, for the most part, the people who are going to hear the message already know the message. They're not the ones who need it. It's like just the millions and millions of people who are just going along thinking that, for instance, if you're in a relationship with someone, you're against that person, right? Which doesn't make any sense at all. Like if you're a man and you're married to a woman, or you're a woman married to a man, it doesn't matter which direction it is. You have a partner there. Say you have different jobs, and this is, you can't even get past that part without it turning into a big fight. My job is this because I'm the woman. My job is this because I'm the man. Why do I have to do this? Why do I get stuck with this? But let's say we've at least got some reasonable jobs. That one person's deciding, all right, I'm going to handle this stuff, and I'm going to handle this stuff, and it doesn't even have to be gender specific. We can just put that all aside for the moment. The way most people run their relationships today, they don't try to make the other person's job easier, which is insane. Sometimes they'll even try to make the other person's job harder. Like say I'm going to be the manly man, and I'm going to go work construction job or something, and my wife is going to be at home. Not that this happens anymore, but my wife's going to be at home, and she's going to take care of the laundry and clean the house. She's going to do the cleaning. I'm going to do the bringing home the money. So I go to the construction job, and I come home. If I come home just covered in filth, and I walk in the front door, I'm trailing dirt and crap that she's going to have to clean up, and I throw all my filthy stuff in the laundry, in the dirty laundry, and it's like, okay, this now has to be washed 3 times because there's so much dirt in there. That's not me doing the right job. I'm not doing my job right. Like, if there's any way that on my way home I can jump in a creek or in the ocean or in a lake or something, and then get out and like I'm mostly clean, then I can get home. Even if I'm kind of a little damp still, I'm not like dragging in just all the dirt to make my partner's life harder. But people don't think about things like that. Today they're just like, well, this is your job, so do it. Just show up and do it. It doesn't matter how dirty it is. It doesn't matter that I put no effort into making your job easier. In fact, I just made your job like 5 times harder than it needed to be. No, this is your job, you go do it. And this is not a gender specific thing. This goes both directions. Men and women are doing this to each other constantly. And like all these relationships that I see people in, they're like people will trash talk their partner out in public. And just ha 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 ha, he's such an idiot, or she's such a bimbo, or just tearing each other down, tearing each other apart, and just who cares? Doesn't matter, right? It's funny, ha ha ha. But that's tearing your relationships apart. Like what? Anyway, I'm gonna shut up about that. But man, it's just this whole thing about families being destroyed. And like no one's raising their children anymore. Like if you want to know why our civilization is collapsing, if you want to know why life is getting harder and harder and harder, even though we have more technology that should make it easier, but still it keeps getting harder and harder. Start there. Start with families. Start with like kids not being raised to learn the things they need to do to make a better world. And man, when you look at the kids growing up today, like those people are going to be in charge of things in a few decades. Man. Oh. Let's see, what's going on here? Yes, I did say the F word. Canada and America number things strange. Yeah. Mr. Landfill, we are in Panama, damn it. Let's see, Jaimie was born and raised between Canada and America. Well, yeah, I was in Canada for like the first 20 years, and I don't know, who cares what numbers the floors are? Jeez, it's not that big a deal. It's really not that important. It was a joke, but still. Wait, what was the joke? I don't know. Right. Okay, COVID brought school home to a lot of people. Hopefully the world will learn from that experience. Yeah, one of the best things that happened with the whole quarantine, the COVID-19 whole deal there, was that people started homeschooling, and homeschooling actually became like an acceptable thing, like a normal thing. And I don't know what the statistics are now, how many people are still doing it, but I kind of hope that a lot of people kept doing the homeschooling. But who knows? I know a lot of people just went back to how things were. I'm a regular. Thumbs up, everyone. Sean says, I was just talking to my dad on the porch. Oh, that would be a cool experience, to talk to my dad on the porch. I haven't talked to my dad in quite some time. I don't know if I'll ever talk to him again, actually. But I hope that one day my kids will talk to me on the porch when they're older. Anyway, I was talking to my dad on the porch. I'm glad that he taught me he doesn't know everything, and every question could have several answers. Best not to be rigid with ideology. Exactly. Yes, totally. And that's one of the things you learn from real life experience. You go into a classroom and you get some test that's a written test, and like there is an answer. There is an exact answer. But that's not how real life works. Sometimes that's how real life works. But even then, a lot of times it doesn't work that way. Even, I was talking about doing the calculation for how much weight my floors could hold, or how much weight my pillars could hold, to make sure the floors could hold them. Well, there's a lot of factors that could change that. My skill in mixing the concrete, how good a job I did, how much cement I put in there, how good my molds were. Did I leave voids or gaps? And there's like Oh, the answer is not so simple like lickety split. Just crunch the numbers. Like there's always a lot of variability in real life things that you can't just fit into a book. Now, I'm not saying book learning is not useful. It's definitely useful, um, but like for instance with math, if you're just learning book math and you don't learn how to apply it to real life, it's kind of useless. And this is one of the things I always try to teach my kids. Like a lot of the questions I give them, I'll give them like a few questions every morning. We kind of do like breakfast math. So I'll give them a few questions that are just like basic things that are kind of at their level, maybe pushing them a little bit. And then I always give one word question. And the word question always has something to do with, in a real life situation, calculate this. And then there'll always be a few different answers. So it'll be like, how much gasoline do you need to go here and back? And they'll be like, okay, do the calculation. They come up with like 26 gallons of gasoline to get there and back. And then I'll ask the next question, which is, how much would you take? And then they're like, well, if I take 26 exactly, I'll make it back exactly, unless there's a headwind. Okay, so I should take a little more. Plus, I don't want to get back and be empty, because then I won't be able to go get gas later. Okay, so I need to take actually like 10 extra gallons or whatever, So it's really important to always include like real life scenarios and that kind of stuff. And then, when I'm taking my kids out on the boat, I'll ask them questions that I've asked them in math questions about what we're actually doing. Or like I got my kids involved, in the last video, I got them involved in laying out the posts for the railing to figure out how many railings should there actually be in each section. And then we can figure out how many total we need. But there's all kinds of considerations, like how close do the railings need to be so a little kid can't fit their head through and fall through. Okay, what other considerations do we need to have? Turns out there's not much other than that. Just as long as a little kid can't fit through, that's pretty much the only consideration. But anyway, there are other considerations. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, what are the top 5 books and top 5 movies that had the biggest impact on you? Well, books, that's a tough one because I did not read a lot. Because what would happen when I would read? Well, part of the problem was school was always trying to get me to read these horribly boring books, and it was just like I don't want to deal with it. But what often happened to me when I was reading is I would analyze every sentence as I was going, and I was always very good at comprehension, but my reading was always slow. I always got in trouble for that. I was reading too slow, but I was like, I want to analyze every sentence. I want to know what's going on here. So I would be analyzing like what the all the messages that are between the lines, and I would often get annoyed at the authors for trying to sell me something, trying to sell me some idea between the lines. They're telling the story, but they've always got some little agenda, and I'd be like, screw this book. Blah. So I didn't read a lot. I still don't read a lot. Like if I start reading, the same thing happens. I'm like, I know what this guy's trying to do. I know what this guy's trying to teach me. He's trying to tell me to think like this. Well, I'm not going to do it. Anyway, I can get through a movie much more easily than a book. My top 5 movies. Well, the first thing I think about is just like kung fu movies, like American Ninja and like, ninja movies. Because I didn't have any, I didn't have any exposure to anyone trying to teach me self-discipline or anything like that. But in these kung fu, these ninja movies, self-discipline was a huge thing. Like if you could have self-discipline and you can control your mind and your body, you can do amazing things. Was basically the message I was getting from these ninja movies. Of course, there was a lot of chopping people up and throwing ninja stars in people's heads and whatever. But like the part that I really enjoyed about those movies was just the self-discipline and the practice of skills and learning to do things, and then being able to do things that just normal people couldn't do. So yeah, I would say like ninja movies when I was a kid were a huge influence on me. And other than that, much more than books, I would say video games, because I played a lot of like RPG type video games. I also played some action video games, and action video games just kind of teach you fast reflexes and stuff. But like the RPG video games, the role-playing games, they put you in kind of real life situations where you have to think about what you should do or what you would do. And I feel like I learned a lot from that. Just not even specifically from the video game. It's more like what the video game made me think about. So in the video game, the RPGs, I would be in various situations, and I would end up thinking, what would I do in that situation? And I just learned a lot about what to do, because I'd come up to some kind of similar situation in real life, and I'd be like, oh, I know what to do here, because I've already thought about this situation, because I encountered it in a video game where I could pause the game and I could stop and think about it. Like, what should I do? And then when I came up to the situation in real life, then I didn't have to make a snappy decision that I hadn't thought out, because I thought about it. And I'm sure this question is going to bounce around in my head, and like 2 days from now, I'm going to have a much better answer. Jaimie, quite contrary. How does your garden grow at this time of year? Well, this time of year, it's like always summer here in the tropics. And I've been very excited about my papayas. I showed a couple of papayas we got off the tree the other day. Right now, there are no ripe papayas, but there are a lot of papayas. There's like, I counted over 50 and I couldn't see them all. So I should get more ripe papayas soon. And I'm hoping to get more bananas soon. My banana trees are looking huge. And I eat like a coconut every day. But my gardens are not as good as I want. I have this spinachy plant that just grows like crazy. I've got tons of that. I eat that like in everything. I've actually got my dinner sitting right over there, which has definitely had enough time to cool off now, but I'll eat it in a little bit. Has a bunch of that spinach in it and oregano and stuff. But yeah, I definitely do want to have more food growing, but I'm growing. I'm definitely growing more than I was when I started, and I'm continually slowly growing more. So it's going okay. At some point, I really want to jumpstart that and like put a lot of effort into like growing crops, growing crops kind of deal. But I think that's going to happen over in the jungle where I'm building the campground, because the soil over there is like 1,000 times better than on this island. This island is very clay. And the only place things are growing really well is like kind of right in front of my house where all the sweepings go. Whenever I sweep stuff out of my house, I dump it there. And then, fruit scraps, I throw it in certain spots down there. So there's lots of compost and stuff. So things like grow like crazy right in front of my house. That's why the papayas grow right in front of my house. But the rest of the island, it's pretty dense clay. Things don't grow that well. So yeah, hopefully when I get this campground going, I can plant lots of stuff there in the good soil. Maybe the people who show up this year, I know at least one person's coming. There'll probably be a few people. Maybe we can do a bit of planting or something. I don't know. We'll see. For your stairs, why not have them come up on the bridge so you don't have to interrupt your run path? Well, the run path is definitely wide enough that half the space could be stairs. It's not even going to be half the space. However, I don't want to have the whole run open anyway. Like the outer half of the floor is the running track. The inner half of the floor will be 12 different rooms, because there are 12 of these pillars, 12 of these posts. So there'll be 12 different rooms, and I want to have one be like a Lego zone, one, maybe two. Might have to have two of them be Lego zones. There's a lot of Lego here. I want to have one be like a drawing station for like drafting or drawing or whatever. I don't know, all the drawing stuff in one of the spots, and then maybe some of them will be bedrooms, but like the inner half is not going to be running track. There's going to be stuff there. So if I use one of the spots for stairs, I think it'll be fine. And I like the idea of the stairs there. I think they'll be good there. Let's see. Sean says, I think the poor relationships you describe are because people feel forced together, mostly by unplanned pregnancy and by being unable to afford other options. Sadly, by bad education and less access. Man, you're opening a big can of worms here. First, I would say people don't just become pregnant. It's not just like, ooh, I'm pregnant. Throughout most of human history, people were very aware that pregnancy is a possibility when you're, getting frisky with someone, getting involved. So they would control themselves. Birth control hasn't been around that long. Before birth control, people just had self-control. And now self-control has been replaced by birth control. And now people are just like, it doesn't matter, whatever. It's not my fault. The condom broke. It's not my problem. I didn't do it. We didn't mean to. It's just an accident. Zero responsibility for me. And it's just so dumb. It's so dumb. Stop acting like children. You don't just get pregnant. You're doing some stuff. And okay, ever since I was a kid, I decided, maybe since I was a kid, ever since I became sexually active, let's just say the words. Ever since I became sexually active, I decided that I should not be sexually active with anyone that I could not have children with. So it's like, it's important to think about that. You gotta there's a chance you're gonna get someone pregnant if you're fooling around and stuff. And to just ignore that is just unbelievably irresponsible and stupid. So don't tell me that this is just unplanned pregnancies just fell out of the sky. No, it's like being irresponsible. And part of that is bad education. A lot of that bad education is just not teaching people to be responsible. This is one of the reasons I let my kids run around on the second floor. I'm teaching them that they are responsible for their own safety. I'm not going to lock them on the first floor and say, you cannot go up there because it's dangerous. I'm going to say, you can go up there, but you have to be safe. And that's teaching them to be responsible for themselves, which is something kids don't learn when they grow up in a box, going to daycare where everything's done for them. And they go to school and you just have to sit there. And if you can't even do that right, well, you get some Prozac and then you're fine. It's just people are being irresponsible. Oh, let's see. Possum Living by Dolly Freed. Oh, is this a book? Possum Living by Dolly Freed. I'm not going to read it probably, but yeah. Hi, Jaimie, you're awesome. Well, thanks, Off-Grid Homestead. I appreciate that. Make green papaya salad. So I've heard about this green papaya situation, that you can eat the papayas green, but I don't know, man. They are so delicious when they're ripe. I don't know how. I don't imagine they're going to be as good when they're not ripe. And I can get them ripe right off the tree, and they're so good. They're amazing. Maybe one day I'll try this green papaya thing, but I don't know. I need to have excess papayas or something before I risk one of my delicious papayas. Okay, Frederick says, question. Okay. Picture is quite pixelated today, at least for me. Is that a Star Trek logo on your shirt? Dr. Sulu, no, it's nothing. It's just sailboat. Yeah, it's nothing. Nothing interesting. Dr. Sulu. Frederick Vindicat, I have heard YouTube is having problems today. Well, yeah, I should have. I mean, the internet should be working fine from where I am. But yeah, maybe YouTube's having a problem. I don't know. Sorry if it's pixelated. I can't do anything about it. There was a lot of child mortality in the old days as well. Well, you know, people talk about how in the old days people were just dropping dead all the time. And like one of the things is before there were hospitals, women would die in childbirth like all the time. But the thing is, that doesn't make sense because the species would not have continued. None of us would be alive if there was like a 50% chance you die in childbirth. Like there would be no people. And yeah, kids used to die. Kids die now. Who cares? Like what? I don't know. What's your point? You gotta have more of a point than people died. What's your upcoming tasks this week? Let me think. I don't know. Kind of a lot of the same stuff. Man, YouTube has changed. YouTube keeps changing where the buttons are. It's kind of annoying. Okay, my upcoming tasks this week. Well, I have to get the rest of that wood out of the jungle. The rest of the floorboards. I've got. Well, I mean, I've already used all the joists. But I do still have at least 2 boards that are the joist thickness that I have to get out. And then just a lot of floorboards. So yeah, I'll get those out of there. And that I usually just do 1 trip in a day, which ends up taking a few hours. I don't know, it's like 3 or 4 hours to do 1 load of wood because it's pretty far into the jungle, like a quarter mile from where I can park my boat. If I can get my boat like right up when the tide is up. Yeah, like 3 or 4 hours to get the boards all the way back here. And then, yeah, I usually just do 1 of those trips a day. And then other than that, what's the other thing I've been doing? I don't know. Well, I was cutting boards. Yeah, I still have a bunch of second floor stuff. Maybe I'll put the rest of the railings in. I want to put the stairs in. And then the supports for the second floor, which is the first floor in Europe, just adding little pillars to the edges of the pillars, making the pillars a little bit fatter, just under the part that supports the weight. I've started that, but there's a bunch to do. I don't know, I have a lot of stuff to do. And then on my 3D printer, I've just been playing around with stuff, nothing important. Yeah. Today I started making new tank treads because there's something bothering me about the ones I made before that I shared them on Thingiverse, but I was like, I need to make those better. So anyway, I started printing out some new ones after designing them. But that was just something for fun. I don't know. Other than that, I think thinking. I have to do a lot of thinking. Nothing special or nothing new. Just the kind of thinking that's like maintenance of my own self, trying to make sure I'm doing a good job of being an adventure builder and doing all the right principles and stuff, following the right path. And actually, I'm trying to do 1 adventure builder video every week or 2. I mean, I don't want to rush them because I don't want to screw them up, but I want to go through all the virtues and do a video on each one. I did honesty last week, and I made a nice poster. So now I feel like I have to draw a poster for each one and do that. So that's something I kind of do, like if it's raining out or if it's the evening and I'm kind of done with everything else and I'm just chilling. I'll do some drawing, think about what I want to talk about. Those videos are actually the hardest ones I do. The ones that, like the adventure builder videos, where I'm talking about principles that I think are really important, and I'm trying to be sincere and express things that our language is not really set up to express. Okay, what's going on? Doctors didn't know to wash hands till the last century. Germs weren't understood. Well, the thing is, it's not that doctors didn't know how to wash their hands. Like all this stuff goes in waves. Like before there were doctors and before there were cities, germs just were not spread around like crazy. Like when people were less densely populated. So anytime you start talking about the mortality of the past, you have to look at the specific situation. How long was that? Like if you're talking about doctors, doctors were not something that existed all throughout human history. Doctors have existed for part of human history. And plus, there have been different civilizations that did different things. So you can't really just make blanket statements about the past, because it's not going to cover the past. It's going to cover a little piece of the past in a certain region. And it's always important to keep that in mind, because there are different civilizations, there's different times, things have changed, like a lot of different things have happened, and so a lot of the stuff people talk about with medical things, a lot of the medical problems we have today and we've had for the last hundreds of years, whatever, a lot of that came up because people started living in cities, because people started living more densely populated, because then if one person gets sick, they're immediately infecting like 40 other people. Whereas when people were living more spread out, illnesses would not spread so fast. So that was just the distance between people was a huge deterrent to things spreading around people. So sicknesses had a disadvantage. And when you pack people in a city, illnesses that are contagious through breathing or touch have a huge advantage, and that stuff gets a lot worse. And then sanitation. Once you pack people in, the tighter you pack people in, the more people you put in a place, the more poop and pee there is to deal with, and the more sanitation becomes an issue. So there's a lot of stuff you have to talk about if you're going to talk about medical things and the past. There's a lot of variables and stuff. Okay, my point was, I think that self-control wasn't necessarily the go-to habit, but perhaps large families with lots of children, some of which just wouldn't make it. Okay, well that's a separate thing. Just some children would die is a separate issue than hookup culture. So if you're talking about like what we have today, which is hookup culture, and this is so irritating. So I'm single right now, right? And I talk to girls once in a while. And it's like every girl is just, I'm sure girls have this problem too, but every girl is just interested in hooking up. And I'm just like, yeah, I have zero interest in hooking up. I don't want to do that at all. Like the risk to reward ratio is complete garbage. When I'm going to have fun tonight and maybe get herpes for the rest of my life. Not worth it, right? Like I would only be interested in a long-term thing. But like almost everyone I talk to is like, no, I want to hook up and just have fun and whatever, And there's so many problems associated with that. And that's a different problem than sometimes children would die. Like if people are having children within a family, even if you're losing some kids once in a while, that's still a much better situation for the children than just having hookup culture where people have kids and they don't even know who the parents are, Doctors are only as good as the research and knowledge that's around at the time. Not necessarily true. Again, there are a lot of variables that you're not taking into account. There's, that's a whole huge can of worms. So one of the problems actually that I think the medical system today has is just what you're talking about, the knowledge and the research. So whatever is written down on a piece of paper somewhere, that's the important information. And something like bedside manner, that's not as important as this stuff, But a person's, when you're sick, or even when you're not sick, Your mood greatly affects your ability to fend off illnesses. If you're feeling good about yourself, you're feeling happy, you feel like I've got a bright future ahead, your metabolism is going to be much more active than if you're depressed, you feel like, the future sucks, you're surrounded by crap. Your system, your immune system is going to be depressed. Your whole metabolic rate is going to be screwed up. And that's something that people don't take into account. And, yes, you can say, okay, when people do research on that, they learn about it, but that's something you don't have to do research on. That's part of just like being a human, is understanding that when you feel better about yourself, you're going to be healthier than if you don't feel good about yourself. Saying everything else is equal. When you feel better about yourself, you're going to be healthier than when you feel bad about yourself. Like that's something that's just common sense. It's basic human understanding that's been around forever. You crush people's soul, you crush their spirit, and their body withers too. That's not in the research, man. Going to be cool to see your third floor finished. Yeah, I'm excited about the third floor. I'm really looking forward to playing Frisbee on the third floor. That's going to be exciting because it's totally big enough in here to play Frisbee. Or like catch, to play catch like with a hard ball, I'm going to have to put up some nets or something so I don't damage the house every time someone throws hard and misses. Anyway, I'm pretty excited about that. Walden is also a good book, but you already know everything there. Yeah, so, I feel like Walden, is that what the book's called? It's Walden's Pond. I don't know. Anyway, I know what you're talking about. I've never read it, but I've heard bits and pieces about it. And when I first moved off grid, people kept bringing up the book to me because of things I said. And then I'd be like, well, if I just said that and that reminded you of the book, what's the point of reading the book? So yeah, basically what you just said there. Agreed about families, and in the past, they are an integral part of human society. Yeah, so you know what? I would give up all the medical knowledge and stuff we have today for families. Like, I'm not saying I want to get rid of all the medical knowledge we have today, right? But I'm just saying, if I had to pick one, if I could either have good families in a society or lots of medical knowledge, I would choose good families, because that's the foundation of so many things. You get better medical knowledge when you have good families raising children who learn and their curiosity is not being crushed by some institution that just, God, schools are so horrible today. But like when you have good families raising good people, it fixes so many of the problems. When you don't have good families raising good people, that's when you have a lack of morality. And when you have a lack of morality, just all kinds of problems run rampant. And in those cases, the more knowledge you have, it doesn't necessarily make a better life. Because when people are immoral, they'll use knowledge for the wrong things, to be greedy. And that's, and medical stuff today is a perfect example of that. So much medical knowledge today is used just for profit, like bottom line, making dollars at the expense of people's health. All right. Let's see. I love opening a can of worms. Yeah, opening a can of worms. That can be a fun thing. I'll second ME about Walden for Jaimie. Maybe I should read it. I don't know. Maybe when I get old and I'm not doing so much, I'll read some books. I don't think I've ever seen a can of worms. Now I kind of want to go onto one of those AI image generators and just type in can of worms and see what it spits out. You need to go fish. I do need to go fish. You're right. I have not been fishing in a while. I haven't even been spearfishing in a while because I've just been busy. Yeah, just been busy doing stuff. Nobody should be hooking up with girls. Women, yes. Girls, no. Okay. You know what I'm talking about. Women. I'm not literally saying little girls. If I talk about girls and boys, I'm not necessarily identifying any ages. Like if you ask me if I'm a boy or girl, I'd be like I'm a boy. You don't have to call me a man. Anyway, this is all silliness. All right. It looks like I'm at the end of comments here, and I've got some dinner sitting right there that's getting cold, and I think I'm going to go eat it. So, everyone, have an excellent day or morning or evening or whatever you got, wherever you are, and I'll talk to you soon. I'll keep you updated on how things are going. And Mr. Landfill says, be safe, everyone. Okay, I'm getting out of here. Where's the button now? YouTube, stop changing everything. Okay, there's this one up here.